from going through what you did, the two-step of Caribbean citizenship and then expatriating. It's hard for them to make that what they believe is wasted money. How did you deal with that?
The second I was able to afford that program, I jumped on it. I did not regret the cost whatsoever, because for me that was incredibly valuable to be able to do that, because I knew that the long term it was going to benefit me for my entire life thereafterward. So yeah, I would never consider that to be money wasted.
May I ask, so when did you get the St. Kitts passport?
I started the application in February 2018,
Right.
and I believe it was roughly a year before I had the actual passport in my hand. There was a lot of waiting and red tape, as those things usually do. But yeah, it was about a year. So like February 2019.
We did, oh wow, so about a whole year. Yeah, we just got, it took us from start to finish about 6 months with Mrs. H, came in the mail this week. And you get back the stack of papers that you filed. And it's like a small town phone book that you get back that you had, plus all the digital paperwork that you filed and the photos and the stuff they don't send you back. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I remember mailing all my paperwork to my lawyer who was in St. Kitts, and being very hopeful that all of that paperwork would arrive safely, and it did, obviously. But
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of your life on paper, and a lot of it's not exactly the easiest process, but for me it was something that was very much worthwhile, and something that I was happy to be able to accomplish.
I remember when I was training my team doing my original process and like telling them like, here's how to call my elementary school, because I'm not calling my elementary school. My elementary school actually closed, but you have to literally go back to elementary school and get a transcript. And so I was training the team because I said to myself, I don't want to do this paperwork. I'm sure no one who's coming to work with us wants to do this paperwork. Let's figure out how to do it for them. And it's amazing actually how much stuff you can have just somebody call and say, hey, we're looking for John's elementary school transcript. But that's an aside. So you got the passport February of 2019. And was the goal to get it and just immediately renounce?
Pretty much.
Right.
I mean, I did the research on it. I knew that of the, citizenship by investment program, St. Kitts was pretty reputable. Compared to like maybe the newer programs. It's been around for several years, and that was pretty much what the purpose of gaining that citizenship was so I could relinquish my U.S. citizenship. And St. Kitts and Nevis passport allows me to travel to all the countries that I wanted to anyway, so it wasn't any kind of like a sacrifice for my ability to travel or enter or live in Portugal or anything. So
let me talk about the St. Kitts part, and then I want to talk about the U.S. part, because one of the things that especially Americans who are in the same boat that you're in is they look at a passport, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, what have you, and they say, okay, on paper you can go to the same places, but like the U.S., it's so reputable, it's so big, like everyone loves them, and it has to be better, despite what's written on paper. So it's kind of the reverse of the hard liberties, soft liberties, where like there must be some soft policy where they give you more grief if you're St. Kittsian versus a strong passport like the U.S. Have you seen that at all?
Not personally. I haven't had any issue going across any borders with my St. Kitts passport. If anything, like I remember in Singapore, they had a hard time believing it was really a country, like they just weren't familiar with it.
Right.
But
yeah.
Nothing like, thinking, oh, it's a bad country or anything like that. In fact, I traveled through Africa for about a month. I took a bus trip through like 3 or 4 countries on the east side of Africa. And being a U.S. citizen costs you a lot more money traveling through those borders. And in fact, it's the opposite of what, some U.S. citizens might think of, like being so privileged being a U.S. citizen. believe it or not, not everyone likes U.S. citizens, and
Right.
in Africa particularly, that's where I found the opposite situation where, yeah, you're definitely more of a target, or yeah,
The
viewed
reciprocity
negatively.
fees, right? In a lot of countries
Yeah.
like Paraguay or some of those African countries. So you haven't found any problems with it, and you were able to then go and I imagine get residence in Portugal, and so you're doing the two-part strategy where you're not living in your country of citizenship, you're living somewhere else. And so Portugal was pretty accepting of you as a St. Kittsian.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we're here all the time anyway for Portugal. So again, we are establishing residency, and Portugal is a great country. It allows you to apply for citizenship after 5 years of having being a resident. So that way, if that goes through well, we'll be able to have European citizenship as well.
So
So
you'd
it's
like to
just
do
kind
that
of like,
also.
yeah, just trying to be strategic and to again pursue the life that best fits what I want to do and how I want to live, and it's working so far.
So one citizenship in the Caribbean, it's worked well for you. You have the residence in Europe. If you wanted to turn that into citizenship later, you've got a two-pronged approach. One thing that also comes up among investors in particular, where there's an opportunity cost, you're in crypto, and people say, hey, I'm holding my crypto because it's going to go 2x, 3x, 100x, whatever it may be. Every dollar I'm putting out for a citizenship is money, quote unquote, wasted. And I see people who stand to have a huge ROI from going through what you did, the two-step of Caribbean citizenship and then expatriating. It's hard for them to make that what they believe is wasted money. How did you deal with that?
The second I was able to afford that program, I jumped on it. I did not regret the cost whatsoever, because for me that was incredibly valuable to be able to do that, because I knew that the long term it was going to benefit me for my entire life thereafterward. So yeah, I would never consider that to be money wasted. And the crypto space, as we're seeing, there was like the ICO phase of 2017 and 2018. Now we're seeing this huge other phase of like the DeFi space. The cryptocurrency space, I think, is just going to keep producing these new disruptive technologies or these new ideas that are going to be very exciting for new investors and present time and again opportunities to invest and see an increase. So I don't think it's like a one-off thing for crypto whatsoever. So I think for me personally, the second I had that opportunity, I took it, and then locked that away, because I don't know, you could be waiting forever with crypto. I don't know, unless
Sure.
there's always going to be an option for more and more money. So it depends on how greedy you are with that, based on the actual goals you want to accomplish with it.
But are you looking at it as a short-term gain, or you're saying, hey, long-term, I'm going to make more money and I'm going to get away from the regulations that may stop me from being able to get into some of the investments? Was it more of a short-term play or a long-term play in your mind? Because I think a lot of folks, they want that instant ROI.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the way that at that time, even in February 2018, we were seeing a lot of these projects and platforms, just overall excluding U.S. citizens, because they didn't even want to deal with, the bureaucracy that comes with that. So yeah, for sure, it was both short term and long term, and that I'm going to continue to benefit from actually not being a U.S. citizen.
Last question on the St. Kitts passport. What do you tell someone? Because we have people who come to us and they're not American, they're British, they're Australian, they're Ukrainian, whatever, and they say, I don't have the issues that you and Heidi had, and so I'm going to wait for my crypto to go up. I'm going to wait for it to double, and it's that kind of that chasing where right now I've got 2 million in crypto, but when I have 4, then it'll be worth it. And I kind of think maybe some of those guys, they get to 4 and then it becomes 8. What do you tell them?
I would tell them, from the get-go, have an investment plan and have your goals set in mind. And when you reach those thresholds, take action, because otherwise you're going to continue to, like you were saying, delay. And then you're going to have, it might be too late at that point. You never know. Laws change. Things might get more difficult. Maybe your country countries like Australia or the UK, they have, the means to kind of go the way of the US with, all that surveillance and bureaucracy and control. And And yeah, I mean, strike while the iron's hot. And
Right.
there's all those sayings of the benefits of getting in early and taking initiative. So always just have a plan and, you know, stick by it, and then you'll actually achieve the goals that you want to achieve in a shorter amount of time, probably.
It's one thing I try and work through with people to take it just beyond the strategy side is to the personal side, you know, because you know, having that plan B in place. In your case, in my case, it's a plan A, but in some people's case, it could be a plan B. So I'm glad that you know, that's how you dealt with it, because I think it is a valuable thing to have. But like so many things that are worth it as a cost. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.